How's it going, guys? It's Syke and we're back with another Minecraft video. And in today's video we're going to be going over how to get every single dye in the game, how to make them, what actually makes the dye, does it come from a plant, does it come from an animal, what does it all come from, where do we find it, how do we craft it. Dyes can be used for many different things, including stained glass, shulker boxes, and beds. There's other things that they can be added to as well, like leather armor, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of uses. There's carpet, there's quite a few. So you're probably going to want to know how to get those dyes. So with that, let's go over it. All of the colors are the same as you can see on the beds here. There is white, light gray, gray, black, brown, red, orange. Oh, come on, I really broke the bed. Orange, yellow, lime green, cactus green, light blue, dark blue, purple, magenta, and pink. We're going to start with the neutral colors here at the top that you can see, which is the white through the brown. So to kick it all off, let's just start with the white one. This one's pretty simple. You can get it from Lily of the Valley, or you can get it from a bone, which comes from skeletons or chests, and bone meal. Technically, you can use bone meal as white dye, but if you want to use white dye instead of bone meal, you can absolutely do that. Next up is light gray, and this is going to come from azure buuuuut, ox eye daisy, white tulips, and the combination of bone meal or white dye and gray dye. So with that, you can make the light gray dye. Now you don't know how to make gray dye yet, but with that, it's going to be bone meal or white dye with an ink sac, and ink sacs come from squids. Squids are pretty common in any water. Next up is black dye, which again comes from either wither roses or from ink sacs, which, as you'll see here as the spawn egg, squids. Squids, there's so many AFK farms. If you want to know how to, just Google it or drop it in YouTube. There's tons of really good AFK farms. Next up is going to be brown, which comes from cocoa beans. Cocoa beans come from the jungle biome, so if you want cocoa beans, you have to find a jungle biome. Next up is the actual color palette. So let's start with red. Now you can get those from rose bushes, red tulips, or poppies. All of these can be found in the flower fields. Next is orange, which is orange tulip, red dye, and yellow dye combined. Pretty simple. A lot of these aren't going to be super tough. A lot of them come from plants, but specific plants are needed. For yellow is going to be sunflowers and dandelions. Super pretty. Love yellow. Next up is lime green, which is just bone meal mixed with green dye, and from there you can get your lime dye. And how you get green dye is going to be from cactuses. All you got to do is put the cactus into a furnace and start cooking it. From there, when you cook the cactus, it's going to get you green dye. That one's pretty simple. Next up is cyan. This one is very easy as well, which is going to be the green dye from cactus and lapis lazuli that you can get from mining in caves. You can also get it from clerics in a village. Next is going to be the light blue dye. You can get that from blue orchids or lapis lazuli and bone meal / white dye. Now I put bone meal most of the time because that's easily accessible. Next up is blue, which is going to be lapis or cornflower. Either of those will get you a blue dye, which is very nice. Next up is, I think it's magenta, or it's purple, and it's going to be lapis. Okay, it's purple, and it's lapis and red dye, or blue dye and red dye. Next is going to be light pink, which is lilac, pink dye, purple dye, and that other flower at the top that I didn't get to read quick enough. With all of those combined, you can get magenta dye. Not light pink. Pink, it comes from pink tulips, or I'm not even going to say that in case I butcher it. Also, you can combine white dye, bone meal, and or red dye. With all of that, you can get pink dye. And that's pretty much sums it up. That is every single dye, how to get it, and you can do whatever you want with it from there. You can do concrete, like I said, you can do armors, you can color shulker boxes, stained glass, all sorts of things, whatever your heart's desire. But you now know every single way to get it. If I did butcher a couple things here and there, I do apologize, but most of the knowledge has been sent and given to you guys. So I do very much hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to click that like button so I know, and subscribe if you want more. This is Syke. You guys have a wonderful day.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.